Hi everyone, and welcome back to my interview with TheRSGuy. In part 2 of this interview, we're going to cover stuff about his time on Twitch, so how he got into Twitch, how he has to deal with phishing streams on a regular basis, and a bit of, how not to get caught by them. We're also going to cover how he manages to balance doing all of this stuff that he does, this YouTube videos, Twitch stuff, and just all the community stuff, while still enjoying the game. So, I'm going to shut up. Let's get on with part 2. Alright, and now if we move towards a bit more of a focus on your actual content creation and sort of the ideas behind that. So we're going to start by... Why did you start, like you said, you started on YouTube, obviously. What made you do those at first?
So I talked about this a little earlier. I always started with PvP commentaries. And that's always, like, those are the people I looked up to as content creators. Just way back in the day. This is when I was in middle school, probably not even getting into high school yet. So I would have been 12, 13, 14 kind of thing. And I always just wanted to be one of them. I always wanted to. And because of that, I started making videos. And the first video on my channel is a PvP commentary. And I started making them as often as I could. And I'm pretty sure there are still more PvP videos on my channel than PVM ones. I used to post a video every single day of me PvPing, and it didn't matter that like anybody watched them. I enjoyed feeling like I was one of those content creators that I always, looked up to when I was growing up. So that's sort of where I got my start. And then transitioning to Twitch about 3 years ago, I had an advantage going into it, which was that I had never spent any time on Twitch. I didn't know what other streamers did. So my thought process was PK commentaries are basically you're PVMing, you're playing the game at a high level, but you're also talking the entire time. Could be telling a random story about my weekend, could be, reading a book, could be doing anything, but you're doing that while playing at a high level. And when I first started streaming, I figured that's probably what everybody on Twitch did, because I didn't spend any time looking at other people. I wanted to start streaming and see what happened. And I found out pretty quickly that, that wasn't a normal thing for Twitch, where when I started about 3 years ago, the big thing was like the chill stream, which is kind of the exact opposite. And I think that's sort of how I, stylistically got my niche, or got my I guess you could call it your niche, because I was very much the opposite of a chill stream. And it wasn't, to copy anybody else or what anybody else was doing on Twitch. It was just, my thought process was I want to be interacting at all times with everybody as often as I possibly can. I want to be talking the whole time, because if I'm not going to be interacting with the people who are watching me, why not just not go live and make a video instead and just record by myself? So that was sort of the thought process for Twitch. And, I started like anybody does, getting 0 viewers and, 1 viewer and any of that, but still I would talk the entire time. And I've kept that up to this day. I think that's really what's become my, my style of streaming. And it's fantastic to see a lot of other people doing the same thing. And that's not to say that they're doing it because I did it or anything like that. But it's a style I really enjoy doing, and I also enjoy watching in my sort of personal time as well.
It is just that interaction with the viewers that it adds to it. It adds to it compared to a video, doesn't it?
For sure.
Having conversations all the time. Because a lot of the questions I've asked you, I'm sure you've answered multiple times in your 3 years.
Yeah, exactly. And what you can do is you can even turn the community into sort of a part of the entertainment, into a part of the broadcast. And I think that's really exciting too. A good example of that, like I think Bodhi does a fantastic job of that, where he's always bantering with his chat or banning people or, doing stuff like that, it really makes it more than just an interaction with a streamer. It becomes kind of friends hanging out, where a lot of people will, know the streamer, interact with them, hang out with them. A lot of people are there every day. You know what's going on in people's lives, and it feels like a really it's entertaining, but it's also very supportive. There's a really good foundation there of just, it's not, streamer and viewer. It's two people, two individuals talking, two equals hanging out, spending time together. And I really enjoy that.
But how do you find the time to do everything you do? Because obviously you do your YouTube videos, you stream. How do you find the time to do all that and then still enjoy playing the game as well?
I think finding a balance is always the most important thing, and it's always difficult as well. So it's by no means something I'm particularly good at, but in 3 years of doing it, I've definitely learned a lot along the way, and I'm getting better and better at it still. But it's by no means something I've mastered. But I think something that really helps, especially when you're starting streaming, is just having a schedule. And it doesn't need to be like the best schedule. Like I know some people are like, all right, I'm going to start streaming on, let's say, the 27th of January, and from that date, it's in 2 weeks, I'm going to be going live every single day for 7 hours after work. That never works out. People do this where they plan and they plot about like when they're going to go live and all that stuff, and then let's say they have a bad stream or they're not feeling like it. They feel like they have to be there, or it doesn't go well, and then all of a sudden they're not streaming anymore. And for streaming, I think the most important thing is just hitting that go live button. So I try and go live every day. There are days where I'm not feeling the best. There are days where I sleep in. There are days where my schedule is all over the place. And when that happens, it's got to be a pretty quick turnaround from being mopey or feeling crappy about it and going live, getting in the right mindset. And I always will have I'll always have a good day. I'll be able to salvage the day in just, making the most of whatever situation I end up in. And it's the same for videos, where I upload as often as I can. I edit as often as I can. There are definitely, there are a lot of people who think I don't upload as much as I should be. And I feel the same way a lot of the time, where I wish I was uploading a whole lot more than I am. But at the same time, it almost becomes an optimization question, where you've got, what people expect of you. And then you've also got what you need to do for you and your own sort of well-being and your mental health. And just trying to get those two things as close to each other as possible is, I think that's probably the greatest challenge of being sort of a streamer and a YouTuber and a person. So yeah, it's by no means something I've figured out, but that's sort of the objective.
It's to find that healthy balance. So
for sure.
You feel good. Okay, and is there anything you think that could better suit RuneScape to streaming? Because obviously, I'd say there are a few more people coming out, especially the last few months. I've seen a few different channels growing and stuff. But is there anything you think that would help grow the audience as well?
So by default, it's growing at a pretty great rate, actually. So I was looking at my 2018 Twitch stats and the stats of the entire directory for RuneScape 3. And numerically, the directory is over twice as big now as it was. Even though it feels like it's growing slowly, a bit of growth every month leads to, a pretty massive change. So, RuneScape 3, it's a small directory. It used to be considered a tiny directory. And now it's like, it's a small directory where sometimes it becomes a medium-sized directory where, a lot of the time there are over 1,000 people who are interested in watching RuneScape 3 content. So I think it's trending in a decent direction. As for, things that would make the game better suited to streaming, things like ability trackers, stuff like that, which I know some streamers have. I have it, Wazi has it, Lucario has it, and a lot more would like it. It's just a way to make a very complicated, action-heavy game a little easier to follow. And I think stuff like that is always really good. I haven't talked about this yet, but I've actually, I've been working with a developer on a program that is going to look at my invent and figure out how much HP of healing is in my invent at all times and display it in one spot. And then the other thing it's going to do is anytime I drink a brew or any kind of food that lowers my stats, it's going to count the amount of time per boss kill that my stats are brewed down. So just to give myself, analytics that I think are very interesting, both to like unpack in the future, but also just for the person watching right now to say, wow, Ryan is averaging 5.6 sips of brew per kill. He's brewed down for 15 seconds. I just think that's really, fascinating information that I want to be able to give to people if they want it. So just on the analytics side, I think Jagex could do, maybe, I mean, I don't even want to say they could do better, because why should they put money or resources into it if they don't think it's worth it? But I think that's one thing that like Rune Metrics Pro Plus would be really cool. A pack of just like streaming tools, like an ability tracker. But I don't think by any means the game is bad for streaming. I think it's a great game in terms of dynamic boss fights, where you see a lot more RuneScape 3 streamers sort of feeding off a boss encounter with a give and take, where the boss is doing something or acting abnormally, and then the streamer's reacting to that. And it's really a dynamic, a two-way sort of, I don't know, form of content versus, not to generalize, but in old school, a lot of the time the boss fight is very static. where it's more just for, the conversation or the personality. So I think you can get great entertainment out of RS3. I actually think it's an underrated game to stream. And I mean, that's why I went full time about a year ago. I looked at RuneScape 3 and I said, do I really want to jump on this ship? And I'm very glad I did so. And I think it's a very good game for it.
Have you got a favorite streaming moment in your 3 years?
Oh man, I don't think back on them too much. I think one that I keep going back to is I had been denied partnership 6 times. Sorry, my watch is ringing on me. So I'd been denied partnership about 6 times, and I had 2 more weeks before I was going back to university, and I knew if I didn't get partnered in this last 2 weeks, I wasn't gonna get it. And I was doing a next mass. I ended all my streams back then with a mass just to get people involved for like maybe 20 minutes, a half hour. Don't do that anymore, but it was fun when it lasted. And we were massing next, and all of a sudden someone in chat goes, Ryan, you have a sub button. And this was before the affiliate program existed. So if you had a sub button, it meant you're partnered. And I broke down in tears, and I was so excited. And a bunch of people subscribed, and it was like the weirdest thing because I didn't even have subscription notifications set up or anything because I didn't have a sub button. So I thought I was partnered. I'm crying. I'm an absolute mess. Turns out it was the day they released the affiliate program. So I actually wasn't partnered at all. It was just the day they released the affiliate program. So that was probably my favorite streaming moment because it was like the biggest, I've been so stressed about partnership, and the biggest weight in the world got lifted off my chest. It got lifted high up into the air and then dropped on me again from a greater height. And it was so funny. So that's easily, yeah, I think that's probably my best streaming moment. And then a week and a half later, 2 weeks later, I actually did end up getting partnered. So there's kind of a happy ending to the story.
Yeah.
It's like that. And I'm still not partnered to this day.
They've already kind of touched on the sort of challenges of streaming, but obviously for you, it's slightly more unique challenges you have. The phishing problem.
Yes. Yeah, it's a very frustrating one. Wow, this entire interview is me bashing on people. No, the phishing streams are problematic, and to me, on Twitch's end, it's kind of a security issue because it just people are infecting people's computers potentially with malware through your website. But
a link directly there as well, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah,
it's direct. It's one click. And also for me personally, it's a copyright issue because people are stealing my likeness and then making money off it, even if the money is, it's someone selling real-world trading GP. And the phishing streams, they're an issue that Jagex actually cares about a lot too. They have done a lot behind the scenes that I can't really get into in any meaningful way here, but they've done a lot to try and combat them as well because they see how much it funnels into the real-world trading issue. That it directly influences the price of bonds. So they don't want the phishing streams. Obviously, the streamers hate them because I get a message probably every day of someone saying, Ryan, I trusted you. I looked up to you. You were the best person. I watched all your videos. I subbed for 6 months, and you just took all my bank. I can't believe you did this. Like I had one earlier today where someone came into my chat and said, like, how many more times are you gonna quit? Like, yada yada yada, and it continues. And it's frustrating as a streamer to get that every day when you're just trying to say, like, it's not me. I'm sorry. I'm doing everything I can. It's in my title every day. I made a YouTube video on it. There's only so much I can do. So it's definitely a big problem. And that's another one that I think is going to have to get a lot before it gets better. Because until it becomes important enough for Twitch to care about it, I don't see any way for it to get changed. I've personally reported, I don't know, probably 200 of them.
Yeah.
Just in the last year and a half. And if you type my name into Twitch, there are hundreds of ones that are just ready to go that already have all of my my overlays and my display pictures and all that stuff all set up, ready to go, and I can't do anything about it. So immensely frustrating situation. On the Twitch side, I went to Twitch HQ about a year and 3 months ago, something like that, probably about a year ago. And one of the things I was doing there was meeting with the head of security about the phishing stream. And in person, it was like, wow, this is a really serious issue. This is important. In the middle of this security meeting, I literally opened up Twitch. I said, watch this. I bet I'm streaming right now. Pull open my phone, and there I was. I was quitting while I was at Twitch, showing them this. And I was kind of led to believe it was being kind of swiftly worked on, where they were like, yeah, and we're going to follow up with you. We'll let you know when we've made changes. We're going to tell you. And then once I left, it became me asking them like, hey, any update on this, guys? Is there any follow-up? Is there any of that? And then gradually I just stopped hearing less and less back, to the point where I was basically getting ghosted, which was kind of frustrating. And then I'm going to say 3 or 4 months ago, when I sent a most recent one just saying, hey, just so you guys know, whether you want to do anything with this or not, but the phishing streams have started. What did they start doing a couple months ago?
That was the time when they had like the chat bots.
Yes, fun. Yeah, that's what that was the one. Yeah. So I was like, the phishing streams now have a fake chat full of chatbots, just in case you guys are wondering, might make it easier to detect them. Just a friendly message. And then what I heard back was, oh, by the way, the head of security at Twitch is no longer working for us. And I have not heard a word in the 3 months since then. So I've given up with working on Twitch with it. They're gonna realize it and fix it as soon as a bigger directory starts having problems with it.
Yeah, because does Old School have any issues with it at all?
They do, but it needs to be a bigger directory than Old School as well.
Yeah.
Like they need, if a top 10 directory on Twitch or I don't know where Old School is, a top 5 has the same issue, I would bet it gets fixed within 2 weeks, because it looks bad on Twitch. When it's happening on a small directory or a medium directory, it can kind of get swept under the rug, where they're not going to talk about it unless they've got a quick, easy solution for it, because then it would make them look bad that all this is going on. So anyway, I'm hopeful for that. But yeah, my interaction with them on that one thing, and I've had plenty of really good interactions with Twitch as well. Like I like a lot of people that work there. But on this one issue, I was pretty disappointed, just because they made it seem like it was high priority, and it clearly wasn't. But yeah, outside of that, I think it's something where I'm going to continue to do everything I can to raise awareness. Jagex is doing a lot behind the scenes as well. I know they don't probably talk about it or look at what they're doing. Next time you watch a content creator or a content stream at Jagex where they're sitting on the round table, you'll notice there's a calendar on the table, a physical calendar, where they flip it so that you know what date it's from. The reason it's a physical calendar is because it moves around a bit, and it's harder for them to put an overlay over it, because you're going to say, what is that black box sitting on the table? So that's a deliberate thing that they've done to try and make it harder to get phishing streams on them. So anyway, Jagex is doing a lot. I look forward to continuing to work with them on it. On the Twitch side, I tried everything I could, and it led to a lot of time that I'm never getting back. But yeah, it's one of those realities that hopefully won't be a thing for the next people coming up.
Speaking of the next people coming up, how would you, if you were streaming now, like if you were just starting streaming now, what would you do to start? What would be like your advice to anyone that wants to start nowadays?
Oh man, so at RuneFest I was on a panel, and it was a 45-minute long panel, and it was called "So You Want to Be a Streamer," and it was literally just questions about people starting streaming and advice for them. And it was with Cash and Pure Spam and Mr. Mammal, who are two of my favorite Old School content creators, by the way. They're both awesome dudes. And I think a lot of it came down to just sticking true to yourself, expecting it to not be an instant thing. If you start streaming because you know how much money some bigger streamer makes, you're never going to succeed doing it. But if you start out by saying, yeah, I would like to talk to people, I'm passionate about streaming, and you take it seriously, I think is really important. Because a lot of people, they'll see they're on a low view count, and they'll just be messing around. They won't look at chat, whatever else. They'll be on a call with friends, completely ignoring the fact that they're streaming. That's not good time spent streaming. You're not putting in good hours. You could do a 10-hour stream doing that. And no kidding, your channel isn't going to grow, because who's going to click on that, see someone who doesn't care, and then drop a follow? It's just very unlikely to happen. So my advice is, there are going to be a lot of quiet moments when you're starting off. So, you can be on a call with friends or anything, but make sure everybody understands that, you're streaming, you care about it, you're taking it seriously. And if you feel that way about your own stream, no matter how big or small it is, the people who tune in and click for a couple seconds to, do the directory diving, which I do all the time, by the way. Probably every couple days I go to the bottom of the directory and I just look for people and hang out with them and chat with them. And anyone who's doing that will instantly see somebody that cares about what they're doing. And, even if the product isn't super polished, or, even if they don't have the best webcam or the best microphone or the best music, none of that matters if it's somebody who, cares about what they're doing, because you're going to refine your product over the course of months or years or, any amount of time. Nobody starts knowing how to do it. And the times that you spend on 0 viewers, which I personally did a whole lot of that when starting out, and I think pretty much everybody does. Those are the moments where you learn the value of having somebody in your chat. Like, it still blows my mind that people spend time and take time out of their days to watch me and what I'm doing. And I'm so privileged to be in that position. I'm so blessed to be there. And I don't know if I'd feel that way if it happened immediately, right from the get-go. So anytime you're putting in, even on 0 viewers, it's good, it's important, it's valuable. And even if you're not growing super fast, you're learning a lot from it. One other one too, a little later on, because there are a lot of like affiliate streamers who are pushing for partner right now. Getting partnered doesn't change anything. And I think that's something that's important to know, because I remember when I was going for partner, it was, I'm going to get partnered. And then all of a sudden I've made it. I'm good. I'm done. We did it. We parked the bus. And the truth is, if you don't show up every single day and do the best you can be a partner that then just falls off completely because the effort's gone. So getting partnered, like, it's great in terms of, being able to stream other games and not worrying too much about that stuff. Having a verified badge, great for the phishing streams. Having a couple more emotes, that's always good. But in terms of the actual product and your approach, it doesn't change in a significant way. And that's something that I wish I had known going into it, because I think I would have put a little less value on getting partnered, and I would have been a little stressed out about it. And I see a lot of people as well who've been like denied numerous times. Like, I'll give a good example. Like, my best friend in the world, Cash, he's been denied like 10 times by now. And his attitude is great. It's, yeah, I'll write up an application. We'll see what happens. But if I don't get it, it's not going to change what I do every day. It's not going to change my product. And I think that's a really good way to look at it. If it happens, sick. You're the best. If it doesn't happen, you're still the best.
So you just said it there, and I'm a little bit confused about where the phrase came from. Where does parking the bus? What? I don't understand it. Where is the origin? What's the?
Okay, so this is not the origin. This is the first time I heard it. So I've got an older brother who's also like one of my closest friends. I live with him. He's the best. But one of the things that he would say with his friends, like in high school, he would say it. And I would always say, why are you saying that? You sound stupid. That's the dumbest thing ever. What do you mean park the bus? And then he explained it to me, and he's like, no, like, imagine you're driving a bus. You got to get the kids home from aftercare. Parking the bus would be like, you'd complete the task. The kids aren't going to miss aftercare. Everybody's safe. You park the bus. And it kind of stuck to the point where I now have like a set of emotes that you can literally build a bus in the Twitch chat and park it. And I don't know. I think it's a pretty good analogy for a lot of things. Like, I can say, and I think most people get it now, I can say, I'm going to have to park the bus on this telos kill. And the fact that people kind of have an idea of what that means, perfect. Why not? But it all started just from something my brother used to say, and I used to make fun of him about it because of how dumb it sounded, and now I say it 100 times a day.
Good. Well, I'm glad I know that now, because I was so confused.
That's the one.
So, what are your plans going forward with YouTube and stuff? I'm sure you've got lots of Hardcore Iron Man stuff you need to update, but obviously, and stuff to do with PVM Hub, which will be this next week coming, I'm sure.
Sometimes my plans are super unrealistic. So, like, take a grain of salt. Like, what would be the biggest grain of salt ever found? And just apply it to this. But I have a lot of stuff that I want to do in the near future. I've got a Solak guide completely recorded for duo mode with no max out prayers, no max out gear. So sort of like a beginner basic duo guide that will hopefully get more people into the boss. I've actually got a physical book of all the videos that I want to make. And it's about finding the time to make them. I'm about 5 Hardcore Iron Man episodes behind right now. I've got a series of PVM challenges that's going to turn into probably a 2-parter. So 2 videos that I also want out all in the month of, January, maybe early February. Series wise, I want to do something called Solak from scratch. That would be like Telos from scratch, but there are just a lot of logistical issues with a group boss. So just figuring out, for doing teams of 2, there's also talk about me collaborating with Jagex, where myself and the person I'm doing it with would adopt a JMod who'd never done Solak. And part of the Solak from scratch would be getting someone brand new a kill, the boss. That's something we want to play around with more. Storyline, cinematics, all that stuff. We're very, very early stages. I've got a big challenge planned for Gameblast, which is an awesome charity event that is put on by, I believe it's called the United Communities of Runescape. It's RS3 and Old School. They raise money for special effect. It's a charity where they basically build custom gaming rigs to people with either mental or physical disabilities where they couldn't play video games normally. So it's super cool. It's high tech and it's awesome. So that's in about a month from when this video goes live. I think 28 days after the video goes live.
It's 21st to the 23rd of February, I believe.
Yes, that's the one. So I've got some really fun challenges planned for that as well, with a couple of my favorite streamers as well. So yeah, I have a lot of ideas. I always, want to creatively have a direction. It's about figuring out how to actually, work on those ideas, actually create content that I think is worth watching. Because something I never want to do is, I feel like people can tell if I rush a video, I hate the feeling of posting something that I'm not proud of. So because of that, there are videos where I edit it 3 separate times because I wasn't happy with a certain part of it. My most recent video, my Beastmaster solo, that was the 5th version of it because I couldn't figure out how to turn 45 minutes of me not saying a word and running around in a box into something entertaining. Where it took a ton of edits and a ton of time. And I think that's something that people don't, well, one, it's something people don't realize that, that the version they're seeing may not be the first version that I just kind of whipped up really quick. But also that I think any content creator, you care a lot about the content you're posting. Nobody wants to, disappoint people with something that they, aren't proud of, or, you never want to let people down. So there's a lot of pressure to kind of one up yourself every time you post anything, which on one hand, it's a good thing because it keeps you working your hardest. On the other hand, it can be very stressful as well, trying to say, well, I've got this idea. Like I made a video a couple weeks ago of a challenge and it wasn't doing it for me. So that's a video that never goes out. Nobody ever gets to see that challenge video because I just arbitrarily didn't think it was good enough. But as for plans, tons. But we'll have to see in the coming months what actually ends up coming out and when.
And I've got one last quick. It's more of on the technical side of things. So
of course,
for a lot of people, they're maybe not going to pay that much attention to it. But what do you use for streaming, program-wise, for streaming, and also for editing your graphics and stuff like that?
Easy. So I use Streamlabs OBS for everything, for streaming and for local recording. So what I do is I open Streamlabs OBS with my face cam and all that stuff. It's all set up in one spot, and then I open up a second Streamlabs OBS that doesn't have any of my overlays on it, and that's what I use for local recording. I use something called a replay buffer on the recording one, and what it does, it grabs the last 3 minutes. So if something cool happens, instead of dealing with this 10-hour-long gargantuan 200 gigabyte file, I press a button on my Stream Deck, and it's gonna grab the last 3 minutes, and save it. And that's how I do most of my editing these days. I used to not, but just in the last probably year or so, I've switched over, and it's been really good. As for editing, I used to use Sony Vegas. The last thing I did on Sony Vegas was the Tellers from Scratch series. As soon as that series ended, I switched to the Adobe suite, where I got the whole suite. And I think the editing time has gone up, but I think the quality of my videos has also gone up. The tools are really, really nice. They're well integrated in terms of it works well with Photoshop for graphical stuff, and Adobe Audition is an audio program as well, so I can get my audio sounding good and all that. Sort of in one convenient spot. So yeah, Adobe for all that. And then for all my Twitch alerts, I use Stream Elements. Streamlabs is really good too, though. I've used both. They're both great. I happen to work with Stream Elements a little more these days. And I think that's pretty much, that's the whole rundown. My stream setup isn't super, super high tech. I have a lot of physical stuff. Like I've got a physical preamp and a physical mixer and all that stuff, just so that I can, play around with voice effects and levels kind of on the fly if I want to. But outside of that, not a whole lot. Like I can change my voice right now. I think that probably worked a little bit, just on a physical button. So that's always really cool. But yeah, that's the whole rundown on tech stuff.
And for like one of your regular series videos, say for example, say the hardcore ones, do you have a rough amount of time you spend per episode, like to edit them?
It totally depends. some of the best episodes in that series I've kind of got right on the first try, and they've taken maybe 4 hours, 5 hours, and then there are some episodes that have taken 15. And it totally depends. And something worth noting too is someone's gonna say 10 hours, like why don't you post every day? I'm streaming every day. YouTube is something I completely do on the side because I'm passionate about videos. But the stream is definitely, it's my main focus, my main priority as a content creator. So that's why even a 15-hour video, that might be all the editing time I have in a week, which is why you see roughly, a video every, let's say, 5 days. But yeah, it really just depends how it goes. What I try and do for a hardcore episode is I grab a bunch of clips, I get an idea where the video is going to go so that I can, tell a story a little bit. I think that's always a lot more fun than just linear. We got an arbitrary level that doesn't matter. We got another arbitrary level that doesn't matter. No idea where this is going, but there's another level. So I try and really, build a story of like, all right, in this episode, we're going to be pushing towards this objective where at the end of that video, it happens. It gives you a lot of closure as a viewer, which I think is kind of important to make it feel like a wrapped, proper product as opposed to just, watching a stream, for example. I think, there's a big difference in a video that actually, you can tell there's been some thought put into what it covers. So that can be the hardest part, actually. Once I actually know where I'm going to go in the video, it's really, really quick to get there. And I have all my presets for all my zooms and stuff. Like you'll notice if you do watch a hardcore video. If you don't, that's fine too. But whenever I get a level, like my level up pop-up, I've made it like 5 times bigger so you can see it. And a lot of my looting interfaces, like looting a Barrows chest, I've made that 5 times bigger as well. And all those are actually presets that I've taken the time to make. So now that they're made, it's really quick. I'm looting Barrows, it takes 2 seconds. I just drag the preset on and it's gonna perfectly get it every time. So that's not something that takes a lot of time from a technical standpoint. It was really just a one-time thing.
Yeah. But it's worth the time doing it that one time to save the time in the long run.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. If I had to do it manually, I'd upload once every 2 months at best.
All right, lovely. I think I have covered everything that I had to chat about. Thank you for spending your valuable time with me. Perfect.
Oh no, my pleasure. It was great.
Just want to finish. Have you got any shout outs you want to make to anyone? Anything in particular?
I think I'm pretty good. Yeah, I think I'm all good on that. But thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it. Yeah, hopefully the people watching enjoyed. Or learned something, or just don't hate it. And yeah, I really don't have a whole lot else. Oh, this is my room. Holy moly. People never get to see my room. So we're doing a room reveal. My green screen's dead right now. I had to because I've never done an interview or anything without my green screen up behind me. So yeah, anyway, this is the streaming room.
Well, thank you for that exclusive.
Shout out to the streaming room. Yeah. Shout out to the streaming room. Perfect.
All right, lovely. I'll see everybody this time next week. I don't remember who I've got on next week, but you'll have to look out in the week for a reveal video because I always like to have a bit of fun with those. So I'll see you all soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.